Hey guys, so I got this idea where I really should make a few videos about about the complexities in marijuana legalization in New Jersey. I think it's important to understand our individual rights, our local government rights, and the rights that the state has. So I really do think the whole entire premise of the two leading bills in the state assembly and the state senate is to go ahead and give a lot of control to the state government over marijuana, over our individual rights, and over the local municipalities and their rights to go ahead and self-govern. And one of the reasons why this is bad is because it goes ahead and gives control to the state over something it shouldn't have control over. And right now what we have is a total, in some respects it's a federal ban and then it's a state ban, and the legal complexities of both of those are probably more than an average person will go ahead and understand. Only because it's like the federal government does technically have the power over marijuana, but it really shouldn't. And when you go back and look at why it does, a lot of this essentially, the Constitution is basically stretched to essentially say that states don't have the power over marijuana. The federal government does because of the Commerce Clause, which is, in my opinion, really bad. But they said the same exact thing about alcohol, and the way they changed that was to go ahead and amend the Constitution to essentially clarify that states ultimately have that power over alcohol. And even then, when you look at what we have now with age restrictions, age restrictions, I was looking into some of the things, especially about the gun control measures. Age restrictions was basically put in place to encourage different states to have a national level of 21 in order for highway funding, and the Supreme Court went ahead and said that it was okay because it was the power of Congress to tax that went ahead and justified this, which is complete insanity. And I think that it's very important for New Jersey to go ahead and legalize marijuana. But I also think it's very important that marijuana in New Jersey is legalized in the correct way. Not the way that Colorado, Washington State, California, Vermont, all these other states, they've, legalized marijuana, but it's actually not. It's essentially giving the state a large amount of control over marijuana, like they have with alcohol. And the reason why everyone's like, oh, well, let's treat it like alcohol, but alcohol, that power is given to the state, and it shouldn't be given to the state. There's a large problem with our alcohol laws, and I think it's a really bad idea to copy those bad laws into marijuana. So I want to keep this video focused on why local towns shouldn't go ahead and enact ordinances. Towns shouldn't ultimately have the say to ban a sale of something. They should control the aspects on how these places are regulated. They can control who, what, when, where, and why, according to the Supreme Court. And I think that it's really important to go ahead and abide by that, because banning businesses is essentially favoring certain businesses over another business. My main concern is with our First and 14th Amendment rights. I think that banning sales of anything does go against the First and 14th Amendment. So, for example, the Shad versus Borough of Mount Ephraim, that case dealt with the commercial zoning of local towns and banning a sexual entertainment business, specifically because they had a coin-operated mechanism that basically allowed people to watch nude dancers. So basically, the decision of this was that essentially a town can't go ahead and ban adult entertainment, and they can go ahead and determine who, what, when, where, and why, but they can't go ahead and outright ban it. Going ahead and outright banning it is against our First and 14th Amendment rights. Now, how do towns go ahead and get away with actually banning businesses? How do towns go ahead and get away with banning alcohol sales, sexual entertainment sales, marijuana businesses? All of this comes down to laws passed by the state, because As I've said before, the Constitution does give a lot of power to the state, and the Supreme Court has went ahead and ruled that that power the state has is basically over all municipalities. So if a state enacts a law that my town disagrees with, they have to go ahead and abide by the state law. That means the local government does not have power over the state government, which is bad because in our republic, the local government is supposed to be the most powerful form of government, not the state and not the federal. So I think that it's really important to go ahead and, flag really bad state laws that take power away from local. The marijuana bills that Scutari and Guscoria go ahead and propose, and a lot of other marijuana bills too, that are both Republican and Democrat in our state legislature and state senate. They go ahead and take power away from local towns by requiring them or allowing them to go ahead and ban sales of businesses, which is wrong. And our alcohol laws, I haven't looked into all of them, but I have seen some of them which have really indicated the fact that towns do have the ultimate discretion over whether or not they can go ahead and ban alcohol sales. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, no, that's false because towns should be able to go ahead and ban, sales of something. And I completely disagree, because if, for example, in this one, a lot of the excuses is usually safety or the town, atmosphere. They don't want it, it's a family-friendly town, so they don't want to ruin that reputation, and it's a kid-friendly town, so they don't want kids to go past a certain spot. It's unsafe because of this, and this usually happens here, or it needs more police, or some form of excuse like that. I think that all these excuses really can't hold merit to the fact that banning businesses in a certain town violates an individual's First and 14th Amendment right. It should be up to the free market to go ahead and dictate where these businesses should open up. I don't think it should be up to the towns, and I think that our First and 14th Amendment rights are far superior. Banning businesses is bad. It goes against the free market, and it goes and violates our First and 14th Amendment rights. So, in the case of Scutari's bill, I personally am extremely against that bill because I think it's a broad violation of a lot of rights that we have and that the local governments have. If you just look at the local municipality level, this should be enough to go ahead and derail this bill. The fact that it's not is scary, and the fact that it doesn't allow more conversation about our rights, and separate from the fact of recreational versus medical, because I think those two really don't make a difference. If you want a medical marijuana marketplace that the state regulates, you already have it. You have that marketplace. And what we need to do is focus on fixing that marketplace. If you want to go ahead and remove all power of police to go ahead and arrest people over marijuana, you need to remove marijuana from the criminal code and keep the marketplace for medical marijuana. So you have a regulated marketplace and then an unregulated marketplace. Having it criminal, where police have the power to go and arrest you for it, no matter if you have 1 pound of marijuana or 1 ounce of marijuana. I think that is the problem. The police shouldn't have the ability to arrest you for marijuana. The state shouldn't have the ability to go ahead and regulate your marijuana business. And even if you argue that it should, we have a regulated marketplace in the medical marijuana market. So if you really want to regulate marijuana, you need to go ahead and focus on increasing regulations, improving regulations, having better quality businesses in the regulated medical marijuana people. If you want to have a regulated marketplace, the medical marijuana marketplace is where you need to regulate. You need to remove criminality from marijuana in order to stop having the stigma of it being illegal. I hope you kind of enjoyed this video. I am going to try to do a few more videos like this to educate more people about marijuana legalization in New Jersey. The 2 bills that are in the state legislature are really bad bills, the 2 leading bills. I highly recommend, and especially if your concern is with criminal justice, to check out Michael Patrick Carroll's marijuana bill. It largely removes the responsibility of the state over marijuana, and it really leaves this up to the marketplace. But it does keep the regulated market of medical marijuana. So you still have a state regulated system and a free market system, and I think that that is exactly what we need in New Jersey for marijuana. I encourage you to do two things. First, you should like, share, comment on this video, subscribe to this video, and the second thing you should do is go out to your local towns, especially when you go ahead and read in like the Asbury Park Press or NewJersey.com, NJ.com. If you read in any of these newspapers or online magazines that there's a local town ordinance that is up for vote that could potentially ban marijuana sales, we need to go to these town meetings and discuss with these local elected officials that this does violate our constitutional rights, and we need to explain to them how it does it and why it does it. If we go ahead and do that, it should really help the cause, make a more unified approach as to why we disagree with marijuana sales being illegal. It's not that we are all 100% for marijuana, it's that we are against the government violating our First and 14th Amendment rights. If we focus on the constitutionality of what local towns are doing and how to fix what they're doing wrong, if we can go ahead and just grasp onto that, that'll make a huge difference in our argument going forward with marijuana legalization. So go ahead, go out and make your voices heard in local town meetings, and go and share and subscribe and like this video. So I'll see you next time.